multifaceted talent. 43 years in the education business and culminating in principal of Camberwell High. As you'll find out later on, as promised, she was also principal of another high, which you'll find out about later. My association with Elida is that one of her roles is President of the National Council of Women Victoria branch, and her Vice President goes by the name of Pam Hammond. So there's the connection. Rather than carry on now, I'll leave it over to you, Elida.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. The light's going out in the end. Did we find someone to... I think it's better with a bit more darkness. Thank you very much, President Rod, and thank you, Jeff, that's helping me. And it's good to be here. I'm starting a bit late, so obviously, so I'll try and be very, very quick. This is the trip, Antarctica and South Georgia, February 27 to March 24, 2020. So you can tell that that's a very interesting time to be going somewhere, and that's what we were doing. And we were going to Antarctica for 15 days, including a side trip to South Georgia. And thank you, that's much better. And we were going, I was going with a friend of mine who'd been widowed not long before, and she loves travel, and she said she'd come with me, and my sister and my brother-in-law. And we were doing, you can see Ushuaia there, the southernmost town of South America, and it's Argentina that side and Chile this side, and you know, you walk down a street and you're in the other country sort of thing, except Ushuaia is all in Argentina, but Chile's right next door. And we were going to cross to Antarctica, and of course Antarctica is all down here, bigger than Australia, 8-point-something million square kilometres, and Australia's 7.7. And the bit that sticks up, the peninsula or archipelago, is closer to South America, 2 days, than coming from Tasmania or Auckland or New Zealand, where it's 6 days to get to our side of Antarctica, if you take my drift. Now the other thing to note, because I won't spend hours on this one, lots of people go and visit the islands at the back of the archipelago. Not everyone steps onto the continent, but we did, and that was lovely. And the Weddell Sea is in here. The rest of Antarctica, as I said, is down here. But notice that the Andes come down here, and notice the Andes continue under the sea. And one of the islands on the Andes, the undersea Andes, is South Georgia. And we were going to do Ushuaia, Antarctica, South Georgia, back up to Montevideo in 15 days. That was the trip. So I better hurry up or we'll never get there.
Plenty of time.
Okay, here we are in Ushuaia, big town, 300,000, something like that, mostly a fishing city and also a cruise departure city. And there's some ship, and there's our little one, and ours is l'Austral, the southern. It's a Ponant ship, P-O-N-A-N-T. Ponant is the French government's cruise line. So just as Qantas used to be, the Australian line, you know, we owned it and everything, Ponant is owned by the French government, which is very handy when you get into trouble like we did. And we had the most gorgeous captain. Anyway, our ship held 200 people potentially. It had a crew of 132, so it's not a massive ship, but it's perfect for going to Antarctica. But wait a minute. Now this one's a small one, but the pictures get bigger. This is us. I'm taking this from the deck, and we've got off the bus. The bus has brought us down after a day in Tierra del Fuego National Park and our hotel. It's brought us down to get on the ship that afternoon, and suddenly onto the bus gets a fellow looking like a doctor. You know how people look like a doctor with a stethoscope and what, you know. And he's got a zapping thing, and he's zapping our foreheads. Now we were before conspiracies. We didn't think we were getting a chip put in, you know, from Putin or whoever. But we think, what the heck's this? And they asked for our passports. We think, we're getting on a ship, we've paid our money, we've done all this. Why would they be doing that now? The German honeymoon couple sitting in front of Christine and myself were asked to leave the cruise. They hadn't even got off the bus because they had flown through, and I'll see how much you remember. What was the first part of the world outside China that was stricken by COVID. Does anyone remember? Italy, well done. They had flown through Rome Airport. And because they'd come through the airport, and you know, you can all go to an airport and not catch a thing, well, you catch a plane, that was it, off the boat, off the bus. So that was rather sad for them. Anyway, we get on, and this is our Christine in the corner. She's 6'1", so it was always handy. If I lost her, I looked for my brother-in-law who's 6'4", and I could never get totally lost. This is our twin room, very big beds, lovely, nice big bathroom and so forth. So that's us there, and we get on well. There's us in our glad rags for the captain's greeting, you know, that first night sort of thing. There's a member of the crew holding a champagne. How can you resist? All the glasses piled up. I'll hurry up because we've got to get to the end. There's our captain on the right, sort of a zoom photo. He was a Frenchman, of course, everything is French. He would come in every day and to the theatrette when we had a gathering, and he would say, "Bonjour, monsieur et mesdames," blah, 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 blah. And it was hysterical. There were 196 of us. There should have been 198, but we lost the 2 Germans. 196. 96 were Australians. And we would all, just about, I don't know how it happened, we all sort of sat where you are, that side, you know, and I'm the captain. And over here were 45 French, and they all looked to me elderly. And they had an elderly attitude, you know, you can be old, but not old, you know what I mean? And they were sort of, when things went bad later on, they would be putting their hands up and, "Captain, no, and get really angry with him. And one day, just to demonstrate, he came in, you know, "Bonjour, madame et monsieur," blah, blah, blah. And then he would turn to us, physically turn to us, and there were Brits and New Zealanders and Americans up there, and he would say, "My dear passengers," and so he would talk. So one day he spoke to them, and it was no smile, just, you know, he spoke to them. And then he turned to us and he said, "I have to say," we were in the ocean, in the open ocean between places, "I am getting sick of this bloody weather." And we all laughed. See the French thinking, "Oh, he tells his jokes to them." Anyway, we loved him, and Christine and I could have brought him home. He was gorgeous, but we won't go there. Now, Drake Passage, 2 days, as I said, the short way to get to Antarctica, and it's also called one of the worst journeys in the world, the worst 2 days. Many people want to die when they're on Drake's Passage. It wasn't bad, and we could still walk around. The 4 of us did not miss a meal. And the dining room, there's 2 dining rooms on a ship of 200 people. This is the downstairs, holds everybody. Linen, this is Brekkie coming in one morning. That's just, that table there is just the breads and croissants and toaster and everything. And back here is rows of food, of fruits and salmon and eggs and, you know, you name it. And all these tables and mirrors in the ceiling to make it look bigger, I suppose. And upstairs was the buffet type restaurant. You didn't book there, you usually booked here at night, and we'd say each day, 15 days, you know, we'd say, well, more than 15, but it's meant to be 15, we'd say, we're going to meet tonight? Yeah, we'll go downstairs tonight, or we'll go upstairs, or whatever. It was just wonderful. That just to show the sea was fairly rough crossing over. And then every day in your cabin you'd get a 4-page brochure telling you what was going on. Now I picked this one because I'm going to talk briefly about him. There's his ship, Ernest Shackleton, one of my heroes. The only thing he didn't do was play for Geelong, but otherwise he's right up there with Joel Salt. There's the Endurance stuck in the ice, and I'm going to talk about that later, but just remember that photo. They got stuck in the open sea which froze, and they were stuck there for 11 months. And they used to play soccer and cricket and where it was smoother than this. Anyway, you'd have a story about whatever it was, you'd be told the weather and so forth. There's the captain, I'll just race through. The first glimpse of Antarctica. And we are very, very excited, rush up, you know, you take 4,000 photos, in the end you keep one of them. And then I'll just do a few quick ones of icebergs. And what we don't always think of Antarctica is there's a lot of rock. In fact, the whole continent is rock with thousands of metres of ice sitting on top of it. And so there's a lot of rock showing and massive mountains on the edge of the coast. So you'll see those. I don't need to, you know, tell you the obvious. Now there's the 4 of us. My sister on the left, me, Christine and my brother-in-law, who looks a bit like Scott of the Antarctic there, doesn't he? And we're wearing the red jacket, reddy orange jackets that come with our ship. Penant, and we're wearing these life things around us, which look little, they're not the great big ones, but they'll keep you in the water. Mind you, they told us we'll probably die anyway because it's, minus whatever. But it looks good, doesn't it, to have a life-saving thing. And we're going to get on, the first day, we're going to get off the ship, and we're going to get into, and we're already into a zodiac, which you'll see in a minute. We're floating around the first day, quite excited, and because we're at the back of between the islands and the mainland, there's no wind. So this was all right. We're floating past a little Antarctic an expedition base and research. We're looking at some seals. I'll hurry up because now we're getting onto the zodiacs, and each zodiac, great rubber thing with an outboard motor. It only holds 10 passengers and a driver. On the trip recently that I did last year, actually last March, back to recoup some of this, you'll hear about in a minute. We did the Chilean fjords, and every day you got off to go and see a fjord or a glacier, or animals or birds or whatever, you'd have a different driver from the crew. And we had this woman one day, she came roaring up to the boat, to our ship, and popped on the back, and we all, as the male crew were all going, quel horreur. So not all of them are good drivers, but it doesn't matter, we had fun. So you go off, now that's to show you that while our ship is not a massive ship, look at the grandeur of Antarctica behind that ship, and we're over here in a zodiac. And then we sit at the front of our boat there, watching just icebergs go past, so I'll hurry on. It really is majestic. The fact that there's no wind is obvious when you see the French flag, this proud French flag just, limp. And various bits of icebergs and frozen. And then every day we got off and went exploring somewhere. And what I loved was, if I could show you, and I won't, don't panic, I could show you 3,000 photographs of penguins watching us. Now these little ones are Gen 2 and I forgot one else, Gen 2 I think, and they're all waiting. Now in the background's our ship up there, and of course every day you were rostered, blue group at 9 o'clock and yellow group and so forth, and then the next day we'd be later and so forth. And so we're obviously late afternoon I think, and we're getting off and we're looking at these penguins lined up, they're watching us, but look at the dramatic rugged rock in the background as well, and the foreground. This is summer in Antarctica, so there's no real snow. Here's some penguins that are very young, and the chunk of ice. We were told that some of the very brown ones, wearing the baby fur, will die because they were born too late into the summer. So it's a bit sad. We didn't ask which ones. And I love this one. Look at this iceberg. What does it remind you of? And I reckon some of these are saying, that one looks like Rodney, or whatever. But there's the iceberg floating past with a wonderful formation. And this one's to show people, they have to get onto the 10 people, onto their zodiac at the given time, And here's these penguins just sitting there having a good look, and probably laughing. That's just the typical thing outside every room. You've got your life vest hanging, you've got your gumboots at the bottom, which you borrow from the ship, and those gumboots were wonderful, furry lined and with a big tread, and waterproof obviously, and warm, which I wasn't used to. And then later on you'll see something else added, but I won't spoil that. Another day we went into, I think, Wilhelmina Bay, and here we are out in the water watching the whales. And the whales were there, just magnificent. So you can see a few photos of whales. I could bore you again with a lot, but I'll just show you a few. Just wonderful. Now this was gorgeous. Everyone in yellow is crew. Everyone in reddy orange is passenger. Blue people were the BBC crew making a documentary about this trip. And just as I took this photo and they're looking across towards us, they're right fairly close to us, two whales came up and nearly threw them into the sea. So they kept concentrating. So more will hurry through. Beautiful icebergs. There's two boats coming back to the back of the ship, so it's still quite a big ship. And then, lovely light, and start to see tabular, table-shaped icebergs floating around. We love those, a lot of them. And then, one night or morning, forgotten when, the captain announces, "Mes deux passengers," we have a patient, a passenger who is seriously ill, and we will have to cancel our expedition to Melchior or Island or wherever it was. The next day, we never got there, to race northwards to the South Shetland Islands, to King George Island, where there is a Russian base in research, well, that's what they say it is, a Chilean base and a Chinese base, and any island that's got Russians, Chileans or Chinese is going to have an airstrip. And so he said, we will race all night, we will sail all night, we will be there by 2:30 in the afternoon, you will, about midday, you will have 2 hours on the island, we will get the sick person off into an aircraft, which is what happened, and we will come back and resume. So we missed a whole day down there, but I thought to myself, if it was me, I'd be quite grateful if they were going to try and save my life, wouldn't you? The other half of you says, oh damn, you know, how dare that person be sick. They had pancreatitis apparently, and terrible pain, but the person didn't die. Anyway, so we get there, and there's a huge ice sheet at the back there, and it's all fairly barren here, being summertime. Now, the white with blue top sort of thing is Chileans, the Russians are orangey red, and out of sight is the Chinese research base. Why are we not surprised? Now, when we got off, the ship's just over here. Hang on a minute, sorry, I'll say. We saw on the top of a hill what looked like a miniature Russian Orthodox church. We couldn't believe it. So we came up that path that you just saw there with some people over there walking, right up here, and there is this miniature Russian church, our ship in the background, and all the signs, those classic ones that sort of, you know, London and Vladivostok and San Francisco and whatever. And we went inside this amazingly little church, which I should add is held down by giant chains because apparently it regularly gets blown away. And inside, perfect miniature Russian Orthodox church. So there it is. So to be ecumenical, we visited the Catholic Church up the top of the hill above the Chilean base. We had 2 hours to kill. There we are walking around the Russian base, no one in sight, Chinese out of sight. Another lovely morning, I'll hurry on, getting off. This is our turn to get up early, but it was lovely. See all the penguins there. And more bones, I'll just race through these. The seal lying there, not interested in us. Now, I love this one. This was another day, and we're getting off at Brown's Bluff, which is actually on Antarctica. We're very excited. Notice all the penguins are swimming out waiting for us. And I noticed this rock. I thought, this rock's very interesting. Now, this is Brown's Bluff, and you can see why. There's Brown's Bluff, isn't it? There's Christine, myself, and my sister, looking like Antarctic explorers or something. Now, I love this one. 2 little penguins standing there facing this rock all the time we're there. So I called it a Jewish penguins whaling wall. I hope they're still alive with their little pets. Now, there was a giant glacier to our left, and those who were, not everyone had to, not everyone was as fit, equally fit. We went up and you'd see climbing the side of this massive glacier, which you could hear grinding away, and crew in yellow put flags out and so forth. Wonderful climb. There we are climbing still. And that's the view from the side, but near the top of it, looking back to our ship. And these lovely penguins standing watching us. And that's the glacier there. That is a huge glacier. That's where we climbed just then. And my little penguins were around here somewhere. And that's the glacier, and of course bits breaking off regularly and filling the sea. That's having lunch. I just looked out of the window and I thought, oh, there's a bit of a nice view, so I took that. And then, on another morning, we came round into the Weddell Sea, and the Weddell Sea, where Shackleton's ship went down, and they found it last year, it is next to a massive ice sheet that keeps breaking off, and the world's biggest iceberg was somewhere lurking in the Weddell Sea. And our captain said, today, this is this morning obviously, today we will go into the Weddell Sea and we will cruise amongst icebergs, and we looked for the biggest iceberg, A68, 175 kilometres long and 35 kilometres wide. Now that's Is that Melbourne to Wangaratta or something? I mean, that's mind-boggling, isn't it? Anyway, so we started off, so I'll be quick here because, while they're lovely, I don't want you to be bored to snores. So here's the start of, we're really getting amongst them. Now, Christine and I came back from breakfast, and we were on the 5th level, so quite nice. And at the very end of our corridor was a door to the bridge, not the one the crew used, well they could, but a door to the bridge, and it would always have a green or a red rectangle on it, and red meant don't come in, and green meant you can come in. So she said to me, why don't we go up and watch this 2 or 3 or 4 hours, whatever hours, it turned out more than that, we'll go up for a few hours and watch our ship going through this massive field of icebergs. So we did. So we're right up the pointy end, as you can see. We're in the bridge, on the bridge, and on the bridge are the BBC crew, the captain, first officer, second officer, another crew senior person, and this fellow, a grizzled sort of, old man of the sea type person. He used to run a few of the trips ashore, and he was French, like all of them, quite good English. He is watching for icebergs with binoculars. Now, here we've got the most sophisticated radar, sonar, wonderful equipment on this thing, and he's there with the binoculars, and I reckon if he'd been on the Titanic, they would not have sunk. They would have seen it. Now, look how close we get to some of them. They're magnificent, aren't they? I'll be quick because, again, you're getting the feel. Very close. One time, one of the crew rushed out, the door, sliding door past us. We were standing there quietly. There were only 4 of us from the passengers. There's the first officer looking down at something in the equipment. And there's the fellow, he ran out and he said something, and we made a starboard something wrong, a slight adjustment. And this one I quite like, because there's upstairs some of our people that reflected on this particular chunk of ice. And on we go, penguins running away from us, determined not to give us a free look. And this one's about to break off. Anyway, murkily, at tea time, dinner time, we're sitting there having a beautiful French meal, forcing ourselves to drink a bit of French wine, and the captain announces, E68, the biggest iceberg currently in the world, is in front of us. So we rush up, and of course, it's a bit of an anticlimax. It just looks like every other iceberg, doesn't it? And there's a close-up, more of it, but 175 k's long and 35 wide. I had to interrupt my glorious filet mignon for this. Another glimpse of it. Layers and layers and layers of decades of ice, of snow. Then we're leaving Antarctica after a few days. We're heading now northeast across the southern Atlantic to South Georgia. And of course you do a lot of things on ships. I went up to the bridge again, that's the captain on the left here. But again, all the equipment's there. And then, of course, you dine in the dining room. And this one was taken because we were looking across the dining room and a huge wave had just smashed into the window. And all of those people have gone, oh, mon Dieu, quel horreur. And of course, food. Jenny Craig afterwards. Now, this is in the upstairs dining room, the upstairs bistro. And that's my brother-in-law having the roast of the day, so it's been carved for him, veggies and all that beautiful food. And the sister on my right and me, just stepping out to look at the weather. And now we're seeing South Georgia. And we're still eating though, sorry. And so South Georgia's probably out of order. There are the Chilean men that used to play. There was always entertainment all over the ship, dancing, there were movies, there were shows all about the geography, history of Antarctica. We had a whole night on the penguins and all of that. So I'm just showing you, I'm leaving out a lot of that. You just assume we did that. Of course, today, of course the English translation, we're going to have these glorious macarons. Beautiful. And this was whenever you came back from an offshore adventure in Antarctica, you've got something like that. And then again at one of the lectures was about every sort of type of penguin. Now the king penguins were the ones we kept seeing, and you'll see lots of them in a minute. Now that's a bad photo in the dark theatre of the captain pointing out to us there's a huge storm brewing near South Georgia. And we named Mr. Johnny. Well, the French went berserk. We all sat there just quietly. And of course you could watch programs in your room, and you could always see where you were. That's an earlier one, but you see where you were, the wind speed. Now, it's actually an interesting one. It's not that early at all. I've cut part of the picture off. Sea depth 40 metres. Well, that's very, very shallow. But now it's shallow because we've now arrived at South Georgia. And I'll quickly tell you a few things about South Georgia. It's a British overseas territory described as remote and inhospitable collection of islands, including the South Sandwich Islands. Population 30 in summer. It has two in winter. It has 2 research stations, 2 government offices, the governor and some of his deputy and spouses, 4 museum staff, and they're all there in summer. Now, it's right to the east of the Falkland Islands, which are far less beautiful than these. But the Falklands, of course, Malvinas, as the Argentinians call them, were invaded by the Argentinian government in 1982. And apparently there's talk again, I noticed the other day, as mentioned. And the Argentine Navy came and invaded not only the Falklands, but also South Georgia, where there were 22 British Marines. So they captured them. So I'll just keep my eye on here so I don't distract myself too much. And then these 22 Marines were taken away to Buenos Aires in the bilge or the brig of the ship, of an Argentinian ship. And then in a few months later, 1 month later, in April the 25th, Anzac Day, in 1982, helicopter pilots from the British, the highly trained group, all dropped down and threw out the Argentinians. So we're coming here. Now the other point of this is the coastline that Ernest Shackleton came to in 1915, and I'll tell you very quickly about him. Ernest Shackleton was an Irish-British naval officer, and he was setting out born in Ireland in 1874, and he died in South Georgia. His ship left, the Endurance, left South Georgia, and I'll show you where they left from in a minute, I'll hurry up, and they sailed south to be part of the British Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. Now what we don't know about Shackleton is that he had already, in 1906 and 1908 and all that, had done a whole lot of stuff with Captain Robert Scott and with other great explorers, and he got within 160 k's of the South Pole. So he'd done a lot of stuff. He wasn't just a person famous because of this. So in April 1914, he with 27 other crew are sailing off in this beautiful wooden boat on the British Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition, and of course what's about to happen? World War I. So of course they immediately say, we can't go to war, go and do something frivolous like walking across Antarctica, which is what they're going to do, land the Argentinian side, walk across the Australian, New Zealand side, where they'd have ships waiting. We can't do that, there's a war. And the British government said, you may as well go ahead, it'll be good for morale, and the war's probably be over in 6 months. They're only 4.5 years out. Hang on. 4.5 years out of date, weren't they? And I'll just put that on again. I'll be a minute. Right. So they said they were sent to go. They said go. So off they went, and they sailed off in August, and of course summer down there, summer here, and the seas froze unseasonably early, and they were trapped in the ice for 11 months. They dragged their boats to the edge of the ice. It was sitting on the Weddell Sea, and that whole mass of frozen sea moved north. They got to the edge of it by staggering them on, pulling their sleds when the ship went down. Their beautiful wooden ship was crushed after 11 months. They took everything off it they could, including the dogs, the sails, everything, and they k's dragging the sleds and the sailboats, the lifeboats, and then they sailed for 6 days to Elephant Island. I'm cutting this very short, where there's fresh water. They found a little harbour with fresh water. They turned the boats over. The men all huddled under there. And then, after a few days with no ships coming past, they bonfires, everything ready. Shackleton said, I want 5 volunteers, you and you, but he picked one of them, his bosun. And they sailed 1,400 k's in the best lifeboat, the one they sort of really fixed up, 1,400 k's through massive oceans, and it took them 16 days to get to South Georgia. And then they had to climb over South Georgia. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So here's all the lovely penguins coming out. Now, we went around to the north coast, and every part of every bay is the same, glorious, always has a glacier, always has seals, always has penguins, and magnets. So I'll just be quick here. I love these king penguins wandering up to us. Not a bit fazed by all these strangers in bright red. I love the seals lying here amongst the penguins. Baby seal. Penguins crossing a stream, and one of them kept falling over. The second one, poor pet, they kept waiting for it. Still crossing the stream. Notice in the background is about 50,000 penguins. And I'm on a little hill. They decided they're going to climb up and visit me. And I'm standing with that one, the one that fell over down below. He might have had arthritis badly or something. He said, no way. And they've come up towards me and they looked at me and turned around and gone back. So I don't know whether I smelt or whatever, or I wasn't interesting enough to eat. But they were just beautiful. And there they are, look at them along the bottom of our ship. Then we got to Stromness, and this is where Shackleton staggered with his 2 companions. They left 3 of them around the other side of South Georgia, and they, in 36 hours, climbed across the whole mountain range to get to the north, where the whaling stations were. Staggered along the beach. This is nearly 2 years after they're allegedly dead, the bottom of the ocean somewhere. And the man opens the door and says in Spanish or whatever he says, whatever language they're speaking there, at South Georgia, and he's, who are you? And he says, Ernest Shackleton, and this is Frank Worsley, and this is whoever. And they're bearded and smelly and emaciated and exhausted. And he said, the man said, you can't be, you're dead. You've been, but there was no one had mobile phones back then to say, listen, we're coming, we're still alive. Anyway, this is the former huge whaling station, and they sent a boat back to get all his men, and his whole 27 men survived. Some of them went to the Western Front. When they got back to England in 1916, after 2 years of hell, they went to the Western Front, and I think some of them died. One of them was Frank Hurley, great Australian photographer. So we're going to go to the waterfall that Shackleton and his men climbed down, and also just seeing some. And there's the waterfall. They got to the top of this, and they could see the whaling base, and they knew, they thought they were alive, going to be saved, but there weren't any whaling ships actually in them. They were all out in the waters, but they came back over the months and went and saved them all. Oh, hurry up, that's me standing there. And this is another coastline, another bay that we went to. I love the way these penguins are just like us. They walk around those huge sea lions very carefully. And then we got to this rookery, and we could hear it, and we got up, we had to cross a raging river. I love the penguins standing here, probably laughing their heads off, saying, thinking to themselves, look at these morons. The crew in yellow, remember? So there's the crew in yellow, and I stepped in there. I'm thinking, well, I'm fairly strong, fairly fit, the arrogance we can have. And 1 foot nearly went straight down. I was glad to have a rope and the crew there. And again, look at these gorgeous things just standing there enjoying the view. And that's our ship hurrying up. And there's a view. 100,000, they think, penguins. 100,000. And there's another view.
Did they call that the MCG?
Yeah. Taylor Swift in the middle. Patrick Dangerfield in the middle. Anyway, a huge glacier at the top, more penguins, just unreal. Watching our ship. I love this one. I just took this, you know, because I liked the thing. But then I saw these two seals having that, you know, chesting fight, bashing each other, and no one's taking any notice. They're not selling tickets for everything. And then these ones, I'm just watching people getting back on the Zodiacs. It's beautiful birds. And looking back to where we've just been. Hurry on. Now, of course, you've got to occasionally remind ourselves that we're still eating and drinking on this ship. And there's beautiful lobster, very expensive at the moment, I think, isn't it? And this is Shackleton, Ernest Shackleton, 007. So that was a movie we went and saw about his life one night. Now, we're still in South Georgia, and we're coming around to Beacon, the main town that has the population of 20 in summer. And you'll notice a beautiful little church here. Now, the option was to do a climb up here somewhere and get a view, or to go and look at the museum. And normally I'd do the climb, but this time I thought, blow this, I'm going to go to the museum. So I'll hurry up. Oh, the governor's coming out to see us. The governor who looks after the British Sandwich Islands and South Georgia. And you'll see him in the British Navy is there. Ho, ho. That's the governor in yellow on the right there. He's checking all our gumboots to see that we're not bringing any germy things onto his island. Now, South Georgia is glorious. Some people have been to the Falklands, and the Falklands are very flat, and they're full of animals and birds, full of birds. And it's farmland. South Georgia, if you've got to choose, is just breathtaking. And that's our ship in the background. And notice everywhere you walk, there's wildlife. Here's a seal just here, in the, you know, just lying there, and there various others. And that's me having a dream of my life to stand next to the grave of Ernest Shackleton. Now, he came back in 1922, having saved all his men and become a national hero, having gone to the war, survived the war. He came back in 1922 to thank the people of this town for helping get his crew back, and also setting off for the expedition. And he died of a heart attack, aged 47, at the docks. And they frantically tried to save him, and they couldn't. So his wife said, he loved this part of the world. I'm happy for you to bury him there. And so there he is. So that's me very pleased to make it. And that's the bronze wreath and sign. Church in the background. Now that's just a quick one from the museum, just to show you that Shackleton and his men landed somewhere over here and had to climb 36 hours to get to Strongness, where the waterfall is. So that's this massive climb they did in 36 hours, rolling up a rope and sliding down it like a toboggan, for example. And we are down here at Little Brick Beacon. This is the big town. But all of these were major whaling bases back in the day. There's the museum. That's a stuffed albatross, but it's a real one that's stuffed. You know, it shows you that it's massive, right ceiling to floor. This is in the museum. Marines capture South Georgia. Argentine garrison surrenders, no British casualties, and there's the map similar to what I just showed you. Rejoice, rejoice, says Badger. And the church, we went inside the church, a Lutheran church. In the back of it had a book library, and there's the Fortunes of Richard Marnie by Henry Handel Richardson. Of course, he was a female who went to PLC in Burwood, or PLC in East Melbourne, wherever it was. So that, her book's there. That's everything Shackleton. They love him. Post office. Post office is part of the old town when it was big. And that's a photograph that Hurley took, our man, Frank Hurley, of the Endurance before it sank, but when it was being crushed. And he got all the lights they could find to take a flash photo down in before the ship sank. And they found it. Some of you might have watched that documentary. It's wonderful. So racing on. The museum's fabulous. I had a ball in there. And there's a photo of the top of Brick Beacon in its heyday. That's Brick Beacon in its heyday with a little church down here, and massive sealing and whaling processing. That's the replica of the James Caird, which is as long as from this gentleman to here in real life. It's a replica, and that's the lifeboat that they went for 16 days. 1,400 k's across the South Atlantic to get help. There's 6 of them, and they got to South Georgia. Just wonderful. There's the Harbour Patrol, the Government of South Georgia Harbour Patrol. That's probably their navy. And bones and glorious beautiful, beautiful. And there is the one British warship that is allowed to be there in case the Argentinians have another idea. Now we're back on the ship. Okay, we're hearing terrible rumours from home that something's going on in Melbourne. There's this COVID thing, and people are raiding toilet paper. We couldn't believe it. We'd started to read The Age Online and other things. They're saying that there's no toilet paper left in it. We thought, what? So this is a photo of me pretending to steal some to bring it home. Now we went round to South Georgia because that big storm the captain predicted was going to hit the north. But we'd done everything along the north, all those lovely things you've seen. And we're going along the King Haakon Bay, which was 40 metres deep. And the captain said, we are the first cruise ship in the world to come into King Haakon Bay, and this is where Ernest Shackleton and his 5 other men in that lifeboat landed. And so I'll be very quick here because you've seen a lot. Rugged. We got off, we climbed up the mountainside. There's our ship in the background. And we think, how did Shackleton and those men set off to climb to the other side of that island?
Amazing.
It is. And all of them alive. And that's us getting back on again. And more food. Now, what do you notice about the weather? We're sailing north to Montevideo. We're hitting the right river. We're going to get off in Montevideo. Everyone is. But we're going to go off have a day there. And we've already booked to fly to Valparaiso over the Andes. And then we've got 8 or 9 days doing hiking in Patagonia, which is in the Andes, Chile and Argentina. So we're looking forward to that. Others are looking forward to getting on a plane back to London for a wedding, or going back to Australia, or wherever we're all going. And we're, lovely weather. And it gets a bit rough as we're heading back. We've got 4 days to get back to South America. And so I've got a couple of rivers here. Look at the angle there. We're sitting in the front lounge. And we went out briefly. The ship was moving around a bit. And few people weren't making it to dinner. That's partly why. And we noticed all along our corridor, there's our gumboots, we must have been coming back from something, there's sick bags being strategically placed on the railings. And there were sick bags right outside the dining room. And they put all the glasses in the bar, one of the bars, under glad wrap. And we thought, what's this telling us? Anyway, now this photo is from early, the first day of the trip, but I couldn't resist it. This is taken from the French side of our practice of emergency evacuation. And notice what I said about the French. They're not so very happy campers. Some of them are, of course, but they tended to be a bit. That's Christine herself, feet up, having a drink, and other people there. It's a library. It was a beautiful ship. And a bit rough still, a bit rough. That's me pretending to be using a sick bag. But notice the angle of the ship. It's still a little bit. And now we're sailing up to Montevideo, so there it is, Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay. And that's the last night yet, so pull out the same one set of good clothes, everyone does. And we're sitting there, and of course it's a concert, and we're in the theatre. You thank all the crew, those of you who've been on a cruise know all this, everyone come, you clap them. There's our chefs, wonderful people. There's the captain, as I said, I could have brought him home. And then in the meantime, there's still dancing going, and there's still drinks being made. It's a bit smoother. As we sail into Montevideo, I was looking forward to that. River Plate, the Rio de la Plata, River Plate. And Montevideo, and lovely sunset. Everything's going all right, isn't it? And that's me with a suitcase. We're packing up the suitcase the night before, so that we've just got overnight bag. The suitcases can go in the middle of the night, that sort of thing. Notice I've got toilet paper coming out of mine for the photograph. And then we berth, and I love the way, I'm just wandering around the decks, I love the way with all the modern technology of berthing a ship, the captain, bottom here, always still came out and checked that the ship was being parked correctly. And now he's telling us, he's got us all at the dining in the theaterette. The Uruguay government has just closed its borders and we cannot get off. And we are, our French ambassador, our French ships, the French coming, our ambassador, the Australian ambassador, the American ambassador, British, are all pleading that we can get off in Montevideo. So Christine and my cabin is facing the docks. And there's the docks, downtown Uruguay on a Saturday night, not Montevideo, Uruguay, not a single soul, everything's been blocked off. The bottom of our gangplank has got armed guard there, and that's looking the other way. And there's the next day, armed guard. We sat there for 2 days at the docks. And of course we're thinking, what's going to happen to our, we missed our flight, what's going to happen to Montevideo, to Patagonia, hurry up. And we are that's the back deck upstairs, the outside the bistro. We're still eating and drinking and so forth. And there's Sydney, the captain's been talking to us. Oh, these are out of order, sorry. This is before, no, sorry, they're not out of order. So, for 2 days we sit there. Then we sail across to Argentina. We sit off the coast of Buenos Aires for 2 days. All the ambassadors and our captain, everybody pleads. And then the captain says, we are going to sail up the coast. It will take us 5 days to Brazil, to Rio, and see if we can get into Brazil. So we're all thinking, this is exciting. What's the alternative? 25 days across the Atlantic, up the coast of Africa, and back to France. And we're running out of things. Some people had medicinal, prescriptions running out. Anyway, we're still late. They made the 4-course meal down to 3. And we're sitting out here. This is offshore of Argentina, sitting there having a nice meal in the sun. And then the doctor's coming around, and every day, the whole 5 days and plus 2 and 2, waiting off 2 countries, we got zapped and written down, swimming in the pool, still going to brilliant lectures, the ship's jigsaw puzzle. That's the captain there queuing up like we all are for lunch. He's come a bit late, but still. And we're just sailing up the coast of Brazil, and that's the first glimpse of Rio. We're in Rio. Some people are silly enough to say, oh, Monday, I always want to see Rio. And we come into the docks, and there's one other ship in the docks that hold 300 cruise ships. One other ship, that one there on the right. And we come in, and we sit there for 2 days, and in the end we're told the government of Brazil will let us get off the ship as long as we go straight to the airport within 48 hours of berthing and get out of the country. And so they madly booked that one, just quickly, for those who've been to Rio, and I have, I've been lucky, that's Christ the Redeemer, that magnificent statue. That was the glimpse we got from the docks. We all had to get off in 48 hours, so they gave us, and I think there's a photo, there's the captain, he's just standing there looking, and the veggies and things have all been, fumigated, whatever. That's still the docks of Rio. And then the second last photo, we get off the ship. We've all been allocated a seat on an Emirates flight. Christine and I were in row 55. It was a huge plane, so 55 was actually up the front of the bottom deck. $3,000 each, one way, the wrong way, we went all around the world instead of going back via New Zealand in the Pacific. $3,000 each, no insurance covers that. The sister and brother-in-law were put into business class. They didn't ask for that, but they just filled the plane up. And with people living in Rio wanting to get home, Australians, and we went right round the world the wrong way, and the sister and brother-in-law paid $10,000 each, and that was down the drain. And here we are in Dubai, and the last thing, Dubai, we're sitting there waiting to go into the departure lounge for the Melbourne plane. Melbourne plane was going to do Melbourne, Tassie, Adelaide and New Zealand. And then there was a Sydney plane that was doing Sydney, Brisbane, Darwin, whatever. And we're sitting there and the man comes up and he says, where are the people going to Melbourne? Where are the people going to Melbourne? And we thought, sorry, we did. We thought the plane's been cancelled. And we said, where are the people? Do not miss your plane, your flight. It will be the last flight out of this airport for many months. So we thought we won't miss this flight. And we got on it and back we came. And to finish, we got home March 25, of course Patagonia down the drain, and other people's plans, weddings, all the things they were going to do. And we got home March 25, and March 28, hotel quarantine came in. So we were lucky enough to have 14 days locked up in our own respective homes. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry for
The song, yes. Thank you very much, Elida. Most entertaining. And I did promise to fill you in on the last little bit. Back in 2007, there was an ABC series called Summer Heights High. And in that series, with that awful school girl played by Chris Lilly, the people who were producing the show had tried everywhere to get an actor to fill the principal's position at Summer Heights High. In the end, they gave up and said, why don't we get a real principal? And Miss Murray was Elida Brereton. I don't know whether any of you saw that. So that finishes today, very much so. Have we a little something, Jeffrey?
We do.
Jeff the thanker.
Yes. Thank you very much, Elida. Is that on?
Yes.
And what a surprise that was, wasn't it? Terrific talk. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to ask you a question. Did you, what was the highlight South Georgia?
It probably was. It probably was, yes, because we didn't know what to expect with that.
Yeah.
Antarctica was more or less what we did expect. And we probably missed, because we had to sail up and back and missed probably 2 days, we missed some of the things that we would have done in Antarctica, I think.
Yeah.
But South Georgia was a highlight, yes.
And the filet mignon.
Yes, exactly. Yes, all of it.
Well, look, it's not French, I'm afraid,
That's
but
all right.
I hope you'll enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
for a lovely talk.
Lovely. Thank you all very much.